Russia's recklessness is escalating. In the last 2 weeks alone, over 20 Russian drones in Polish airspace, a drone through Romanian territory, and now 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets with their transponders turned off, violating Estonian airspace for 12 minutes. At best, these latest acts are dangerous and reckless. At worst, they are a deliberate attempt to undermine the territorial integrity of sovereign nations and European security. They risk miscalculation. They open the door to direct armed confrontation between NATO and Russia. NATO's combined strength is unparalleled, and its determination to defend peace and security in Europe is unshakable. Of this, Russia must be in no doubt. And to President Putin, I say, your reckless actions risk a direct armed confrontation between NATO and Russia. Our alliance is defensive, but be under no illusion. We stand ready to take all steps necessary to defend NATO's skies and NATO's territory. We are vigilant and we are resolute. And if we need to confront planes that are operating in NATO airspace without permission, then we will do so.
This is my video update on this Monday afternoon, September the 22nd, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And it looks like tomorrow we will have a NATO meeting convened by Estonia so they can discuss the 3 Russian MiGs that allegedly flew over Estonian airspace. And also tomorrow we have the beginning of the UN General Assembly meeting as well. That is going to run until the 29th or the 30th. So there will be all kinds of speeches to the General Assembly from world leaders, prime ministers, presidents, foreign ministers, and all kinds of meetings taking place on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly meeting. I believe it is the 80th meeting that is taking place for the UNGA, and we're going to have a lot of material to talk about over the next week. So Estonia is really milking this this Russian MiG thing, huh? They are milking it, at least until they can get to the next Russian act of aggression, Russia testing NATO's defenses. Let's see what they come up with next. Until then, NATO is going to continue to talk about the 3 MiG fighter jets that flew over Estonia for either 8 minutes or 12 minutes. Well, kind of flew over Estonia. Flew over the Gulf of Finland to the Baltic Sea and eventually to Kaliningrad, which is part of the Russian Federation. So Reuters actually put out an article where they explain what is going on with the fighter jets crossing over Estonia, with the Polish the drones, the decoy drones over Poland, the drones that were kind of over Romania but not really. Ursula's plane, GPS getting jammed and having to land in Bulgaria with the pilots using paper maps. Reuters explained all of this. They explained exactly what is going on in a recent article with the title, "After Diplomatic Blitz on Ukraine and Gaza, Trump Moves to Passenger Seat." And in this article via Reuters, they reveal that the Trump White House, Pentagon officials actually, to be more precise, they sat down with European diplomats in August, and they told their European vassals that the United States is going to cut off security assistance, some security assistance to Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, and actually all of the NATO member states that are bordering Russia. They said, look, we're not going to be spending as much as we used to on security of NATO's eastern border, Russia's western border, NATO's eastern border. Yeah, we're going to scale back our security assistance and the money that we are allocating to all of this. And they said this back in August. And according to Reuters, this really freaked out the Europeans, and then they flipped out. It freaked them out, and then they flipped out. And it is my opinion that is why you have all of these things happening. So this explains it all. This Reuters article. The United States, the Trump administration, they're trying to cut back on Europe. They're trying to tell Europe, you have to handle Russia. We need to deal with China. We need to deal with the Middle East. We need to deal with perhaps Venezuela. By the way, we also are running out of weapons. I talked about this yesterday in my video update. We just don't have an unlimited supply of weapons, contrary to what you Europeans might believe. No, we do not have unlimited resources, unlimited weapons, and unlimited money. And the Europeans, you guys have to start taking care of Russia. You guys have to start dealing with Russia on your own. And the Europeans, they're on the one side, they're pretending as if that's what they're going to do, or they're posturing to their posture is telling the United States, okay, yeah, we can do it. We're strong economies. We have a bigger GDP than Russia, which has a GDP which is the size of Delaware, and Putin is the governor of Texas. Remember when Rutte said that? So they make it out as if they're this huge, powerful bloc, and they can totally deal with Russia, no problem, and they're going to up defense spending to 5%, and they're going to build this big MIC military manufacturing complex, not only in Europe, but also in Ukraine. So this is what they're telling the United States. The United States is saying, okay, great, then deal with it. We need to cut back. But on the flip side, the Europeans are also telling the United States, don't leave us. Don't leave us. Look, the Russians, they're flying planes over Estonia. They're throwing drones into Poland. They're forcing Ursula's pilots to use paper maps to land the plane in Bulgaria. Don't leave us. The reality is starting to surface, and that is the Europeans. They cannot deal with Russia on their own. They can't deal with anything on their own. They need the United States. They need the U.S. security. They need the U.S. weapons. And most importantly, they need the U.S. money. So that's what's going on here. And so all of these alleged Russian provocations, it's all meant to signal to the United States to not walk away, to try and manipulate the United States and the Trump administration to not walk away. That's what this is all about. And the media plays along with it. The collectivist media, they play along with it as well. And when Trump was outside of the White House, one of the reporters asked Trump if Putin does something against NATO, against Poland or the Baltics, will you defend them as the United States? And Trump said, yeah, I would. But he didn't get into any details. And you could tell from Trump's response that he wasn't that interested in this whole thing. He hasn't been interested in any of this from the very beginning. He didn't buy into the Poland drone thing. I don't even think he commented on the Ursula, Bulgaria incident. Romania, didn't talk about that. He was asked about the Estonia thing, and he was like, whatever. He's just not interested in any of this. And his response to reporters was, yeah, I would. Okay, but what do you expect him to say? No, no, I'm not. Well, of course he's going to say yeah. But he said it in a way which is like, whatever, whatever. I just want them to deal with Russia, right? Europe has to deal with Russia.
Will you help defend Poland and the Baltic Sea from Russia if Russia is escalating?
Yeah, I would. But even the U.S. is doing it in a kind of, they're trying to pull away from Europe, but they're also doing it in a half-assed kind of way, right? Because as they're telling Europe that they have to deal with Russia, you guys need to handle Russia while we deal with other things around the world, China and the Middle East, etc. The U.S., the military, is still providing weapons and satellite support and targeting and all of these things. Intel, they're still doing all of this for NATO and for Zelensky. And we saw that yesterday when drones attacked Crimea. And this attack on Crimea actually began after a U.S. Navy Boeing PA-8A Poseidon was operating over the Black Sea. So it was operating over the Black Sea. And then right after that, you had this Ukraine attack into Crimea. And this led to 16 people injured and I believe 3 deaths. And so this was accomplished to a large part because of U.S. weapons and satellite and support and targeting and all of these things. So even the Trump administration, on the one hand, it's signaling Europe, deal with it, 5% GDP into NATO, and you guys need to sort out your whole weapons situation because we don't have weapons to give you. And if we are going to provide weapons, we're going to sell it to NATO, and then NATO has to give it to Ukraine. And so they've got all these things going on, which kind of signal that they want to disengage from Europe. And on the flip side, they're still very much engaged with Europe, NATO, and Project Ukraine. So that's the situation, and I think the Reuters article explains everything that is going on, and we're going to get another incident is going to come up, no doubt about it, because they're not going to stop, right? The collective West and NATO and the Europeans, they're going to continue to try and manipulate the Trump administration into committing 100% to Europe, to NATO, and to Project Ukraine. That's their ultimate goal. They want 100% commitment. And right now, the Trump administration is at about, let's say, 50%, right? So Keith Kellogg, he admitted in an interview that he was actually telling Trump to close off the Baltic. That was what he advised U.S. President Trump. He suggested that it's time for the Trump administration to take a risk and to really escalate with Russia, in the belief that this would somehow force Russia to back down or force Russia to agree to his conflict freeze or something like that. And his idea to U.S. President Trump, his suggestion was that the United States take a chance and block the Baltic Sea. What did I say in my video update from 2 days ago? The whole Estonian fighter jet thing would eventually lead to some people in the United States and in Europe talking about closing off the Gulf of Finland or the Baltic Sea to Russia. His advice to Trump was to close off the Baltic Sea to Russia's shadow fleet. That was what Kellogg was getting at. But what he really means is a no-fly zone and no sea either, just to close off the whole thing to Russia. And and you dare Russia to act, right? You dare them to act. If they act, then you have a full-on escalation and a possible very hot conflict between the United States, NATO, and Russia. And if Russia backs down, well, then Putin has a problem, right? So that was what Kellogg was advising Trump to do. The special envoy, Keith Kellogg, that's his advice to U.S. President Trump. That was his advice to U.S. President Trump. By the way, Zelensky, he is going to be at the UN General Assembly meeting. He is going to be there, and he is pressing for a meeting with U.S. President Trump. He will get that meeting with the president on the sidelines of the UN. And Alexander, in his video update, suggested that Zelensky should go to the UN, meet with Trump and U.S. officials, and figure out a way to negotiate an end to the conflict based on Istanbul Plus. Root causes June 2024. That was what Alexander said should be Zelensky's goal as he goes to New York to attend the UN GA. But what Zelensky's going to actually do, unfortunately, what he's going to actually do is he's going to meet with Trump, and he is going to call for more escalation. He's going to ask for more weapons, for more money. Politico is reporting that Zelensky is going to talk about U.S. security guarantees, and of course, he is going to press Trump for bone-crushing sanctions against Russia and tariffs against China and India. So Zelensky should be traveling to the U.S. to find a path towards a negotiated settlement and an end to the conflict, but he is actually going to press for more escalation and more conflict. So Macron gave an interview to Face the Nation. We've been talking a lot about flipping and a flopping already in this video. Let's talk about the chief king flip-flopper, Emmanuel Macron. And he spoke to U.S. media. And he actually said that confiscating the Russian frozen assets would lead to chaos. That's what he said. Amazing, huh? Not a good idea to seize the Russian frozen assets, according to Emmanuel Macron. Yeah, the French economy is a big mess, on the brink of a complete meltdown, and even Macron understands that if Europe made a move on those Russian frozen assets, then that could push the French economy over the edge very quickly, and that would threaten Macron's position, right? And that's the last thing that Macron wants to see happen. He wants to remain in power as president, at least until his term is up in 2027. That's his goal. And so he understands that if they went after these Russian frozen assets now, then that could lead to a complete financial meltdown in Europe, and that would lead to a complete financial meltdown in France. But at least he understands this. At least he understands what would happen if you went after those Russian frozen assets. At least he gets it. So he said that, and Macron also said that France has recognized, or will recognize during the General Assembly Palestine, but he said that he does not consider what is happening in Gaza to be genocide. So that's what he said when he was asked about what's happening in Gaza and France's recognition of Palestine. By the way, Maria Zakharova, she actually replied to Macron's statement that stealing the Russian frozen assets would lead to chaos. And Zakharova, the Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson, said there will be no chaos. in case of confiscation of frozen Russian assets, the West will face tough retaliatory measures. This was stated by the official representative of the Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova. So yeah, no chaos, just some serious, bone-crushing retaliatory measures, right? So that's what Maria Zakharova said. Returning back to Gaza and to Palestine, France is going to recognize Palestine during the General Assembly. So tomorrow, the day after, they're going to recognize Palestine. Portugal has signaled that it's going to recognize Palestine. Stammer yesterday said that the UK also recognizes Palestine, and Australia as well has also decided to recognize Palestine. Netanyahu, he has sent a warning to these countries saying that a Palestinian state will not happen. The Israeli minister says he has fought against a two-state solution despite tremendous pressure. So that was Netanyahu's response to Portugal, the UK, Canada as well. Canada has also recognized Palestine, Australia, as well as France. By the way, Al-Qaeda al-Nusra, former Al-Qaeda al-Nusra ISIS leader, now the unelected president of Syria, al-Jilani, he is hanging out in New York City. I believe he's going to attend the General Assembly meeting, but he is already in New York, hanging out, taking photos. He's going to take part at some think tank event as well. The former Al-Qaeda al-Nusra al-Jilani in New York City. He also gave an interview to one of the big media outlets as well, where al-Jilani made the claim that he actually fought against ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah. He made some strange statement like that. But anyway, the former Al-Qaeda al-Nusra leader in NYC, hanging out, taking photos in front of big, tall skyscrapers. So BlackRock Mertz, he's not doing well in Germany. All kinds of companies, manufacturing companies, are shutting down in Germany. Hundreds of thousands of job losses, or soon to be job losses, happening in Germany. And we have a poll that was recently conducted, I believe, by Bild, which is not unfriendly to BlackRock Mertz, Bild, but they conducted a poll, let me pull it up, where they claim that 2/3 of Germans are unhappy with BlackRock Mertz. In an INSA survey commissioned by the newspaper Bild, 62% of respondents said they were unhappy with Mertz's performance, a 3-point increase from last month, while 63% expressed dissatisfaction with the ruling coalition of the center-right CDU and the Social Democrats. Only 26% approved of Mertz's work, and just 23% backed his government. He actually has 26 and 23% of the people that actually support this guy. There are 23% of Germans that actually support BlackRock Mertz. That seems really, really high, if you ask me. So Mertz is at 23%. Stammer's at 0%, and Macron is at what, 15%? If you put all of these three guys together, they don't even break the 50% mark. I don't know what Stammer is at. I believe Stammer is at like 10% or 15% as well. I don't think they break 50% approval if you combine all three of them together, the big three of Europe. So let's do a clown world, and we can wrap up this video. Here's an article from Bild. Millions cannot pay for electricity and gas. How to respond to high bills and reminders. So that's Bild talking about the economic problems and hardships that German citizens are facing. for which Annalena Baerbock said 3 years ago that they don't care. Remember that statement from Annalena 360? We do not care what the German voters want. We're going to give money to Project Ukraine. That was Annalena 360. So let's do a clown world and we can wrap this up. This will be a quick clown world for this Monday. I talked about the AI generated cabinet minister in Albania. And this cabinet minister, this AI cabinet minister, government minister, made her debut, because it's a woman AI minister, and she made her debut. It made its debut in I don't even know what to call it. It made its debut in the parliament, and it spoke to the parliament members, and they were not happy. They were not happy at all. This AI generated cabinet minister in Albania started to talk about how she is not trying to replace, or it is not trying to replace human beings, and the parliament members were not happy about this. And according to reports, the parliament session descended into chaos. Lawmakers banged on desks and threw bottles and copies of the Constitution, forcing an end to the session after just 24 minutes, despite the presence of foreign diplomats. Opposition lawmakers rejected the move as unconstitutional, arguing the bot was not human, did not hold Albanian nationality, and could even open the door to greater corruption. Defending itself, the avatar said the Constitution spoke of institutions at the people's service, not of chromosomes, flesh, or blood, highlighting values of duty, accountability, and transparency. That's right, man. It's all about values, right? The AI is about values, European values, right? That's what matters, values, not chromosomes. The AI thing said it's not going to replace human beings. Of course it's meant to replace human beings. And it may lead to more corruption, more stealing, more theft. Of course. It's a feature, not a bug. Anyway, in Albania, according to Politico, they reported that Rama, who is what is Rama? He's the president or prime minister of Albania. He aims to make Albania a fully cashless economy by 2030, saying he wants people to stop keeping money under the mattress next to their AK-47, as a local joke goes. AI cabinet ministers, AI parliament members, digital currencies. What's not to like? By 2030. And a human globalist elite class sitting on top of all of this. You know, I think they figured it out. The globalists that control the puppet strings of Macron and Trudeau and Schultz and Merz and Merkel and all of these people. I think they figured it out. We don't need to graduate human beings from the WEF anymore and groom them to become the next leaders of countries in the collective West. We're done with that. We can just now turn to AI, right? Efficiency. Anyway, that is the video, theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, X, Telegram, and go to the Duran shop. Pick up some merch, like this video, subscribe to this channel. I will see everybody tomorrow. Take care.